I don't think my soul. Can I find it? I've been running behind it, going back and forth. I don't think my soul can take more of it. I've been rising above it. I've been hurting more. I don't think my soul can take more of it. No, no, no more. Can I find it?
All right, spicy. Eric is about to get spicy with us. Eric Silverstein is the owner and the proprietor and the restaurateur, which does not have an N, in case you were wondering, spell check, of the Peach Tortilla. He started that back in 2010. And since then, the company has expanded to multiple locations, including brick and mortars. He started with a food truck. He has infused his background in Atlanta, in Asian food, into Peached, blending those influences, and even came out with a cookbook in 2019 called The Peach Tortilla, Modern Asian Comfort Food from Tokyo to Texas. You have to have a long subtitle or they don't let you put it on Amazon, right? Yeah. He resides in Crestview, which I was just in yesterday. Just a lovely neighborhood with really good pizza if you know where to go. But for now, we're going to invite him onto our stage to give us a sense of his point of view on the intersection of creativity and spicy. Please help me welcome Eric Silverstein.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Well, since the theme today is spicy, I kind of wanted to tie it back to what that term means to me as a business owner, as someone who's been running restaurants for 14 years. And yes, spicy has a literal term in terms of, you can go eat spicy food. But for me, it really is, a term I would use to describe resilience, sort of the fire within when you pursue something in life. So I'm going to go take you guys back to 14 years ago. I'm 41, so I started Peach Tortilla when I was 27. So I've been doing this a while. And prior to that, I had another career as a lawyer. So I went to law school from 2004 to 2007, and then I started practicing law right in the middle of the Great Recession. And I did that for 3 years. And after about 2 years, I started to realize that maybe this was not the career path I really wanted to go down. During that period, you were kind of looking over your back, wondering if you were going to get canned because the economy was doing so bad and firms were laying a lot of people off. And so it just became this billable hour marathon where you were just stuck in an office and you were, pushing paper around trying to bill as many hours as possible. And I realized early on that that's not what I wanted to do in life. I wanted to pursue something a little more creative. I wanted to pursue something that kind of realized all of my outlets. And so I started working on a business plan to open a restaurant in another city. And my first spicy moment, I would say, or my first moment where I had to be really resilient was when I started pushing this business plan out, right? How old was I? I was 26. I had a business plan to open a restaurant. I was going to try to raise $500,000. I started calling up all my lawyer buddies, all my doctor buddies that I went to school with. I said, I got a great idea. I'm gonna start this restaurant. We're gonna do fusion tacos. Are you in? And 99% of my buddies, my friends, everyone, Eric, we love you, but there's no way we're giving you any money. And at that point in time, I was like, damn, this is gonna be a little bit harder to raise money. If I'm gonna pursue this dream, I'm gonna have to figure something else out. And that's when this food truck idea came about, where I realized I could pivot and continue to pursue this dream, opening a food truck. So that's what I did. I was able to do that on 1/10 of the budget, raise money from some families and friends. I put most of my money into the business. And I really had to make a decision at that point in time to just go for it, right? And at 27, I feel like I'm a big believer in a very small window of time for opportunity in your life. I could not do what I did now, what I did when I was 27. I have a wife, I have 2 kids, I have a mortgage. Life is just too damn complicated to take that kind of risk. So I really felt like, I had maybe a 3 or 4 window where I could go for it. I could leave my job, I could pack everything up in my car, and just move to another city and start a business. And so that's really what I did. But, to try and pivot early on in your business plan and to try and just go for something, it does take a lot of resilience, which is why I'm tying it back to today's theme of being spicy. It's, everyone in this room has a dream. Everyone in this room has a goal, but how willing are you to chase that, so to speak, and that's really what it comes down to. So I moved to Austin. I was 27. I didn't know anyone in the city. I had this food truck. I found a guy that was going to lease me a food truck, so I didn't have to go buy a $100,000 food truck. And I started driving around Austin. I'm sure some of you guys remember I was posted up at Star Bar on West 6th Street 14 years ago. One of the first people I met was Matt Lucky, who owned that bar. And I was like, I need a space to park this truck. And I was out serving drunk people till 2:30 in the morning. And the first year of running food trucks nearly broke me, because I would get up, I would wake up at 8, get to the truck at 9. I would go and serve lunch somewhere around Austin. I would take the truck back to our commissary, unload it, wash it, reload it, take it, fight rush hour traffic, take it down to 6th Street, park at 5 o'clock and stay open until 2:30 in the morning, and then drive it back to the commissary. That was like 3:34 in the morning, wash it, lock it up, and then drive back down to Central Austin where I lived. And then I'd be in bed by like 6 a.m. and, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, would be waking up. So we were on completely opposite schedules. And the thing that nobody told me about food trucks was there's no money in food trucks. It's a hobby, it's really hard to make money. So second spicy moment was just trying to figure out what the fuck am I gonna do to get out of this food truck. And I remember calling my dad like 7 months in, and I was like, Dad, I think I'm done, man. Like, I don't think I can do this anymore. This is too hard. And he was like, well, you can't quit now. You got to last at least a year. You can't just give up after 7 months. And so from that point forward, it was just, it was kind of a grind. The goal at that point was, let's just figure out some way to get into a restaurant. I don't know how we're going to do it, but let's just figure it out. And naturally, over a period of many shifts, many days, many ways, pivoting our business model and business plan, we started getting into catering and events and private events. I mean, I was just speaking to Jim over here. We catered his wedding a year ago. We've done a lot of weddings in this town. We had a catering business essentially before we walked into a restaurant business. So essentially we were able to cash flow a business before we got into a restaurant. But the dream was always to open a restaurant. And I say that because, and it really does tie to creativity, because a restaurant, if I didn't care about the creative component of all this, if I didn't care about trying to express what we were as a brand within 4 walls, we would have just been a catering company. Restaurants are opened partly because of your ego and partly because of your desire to express your creativity. This is what I envision this restaurant to look like. This is how I want my bar to look like. This is the finish on the tile on my wall. And so, if we were going to push for 4 years, we wanted to at least see our vision come to life within a brick and mortar 4-wall store. And so we opened that store. That was in 2014. So that store is about to be 10 years old. There's a lot that's happened, in the last 10 years. We've grown the business a lot. I'm sure some of you guys have checked out our airport location. We've got a 6th Street location. We just opened a location up in Cedar Park. But the next biggest spicy moment, I would say, that I wanted to touch on was COVID. When COVID hit, we had about a $10 million business. We went from a business that was doing $150K a year, where I was losing my ass the first year. We scaled a mountain, multiple mountains. We had a $10 million business. And when COVID hit, for that year, we had a $500,000 year business. And it was probably the most depressing thing I've ever been through, because I had the worst combination of businesses to go through COVID. I had a catering business. Nobody wanted to get married. Nobody wanted to vent. They wanted the exact opposite. They wanted to stay the fuck away from people. I had full service restaurants. Those restaurants did the worst during COVID. It wasn't quick service. It wasn't delivery. It was full service restaurants. Closed both of them. I had an airport location. Guess what? Nobody was flying in an airport. That location closed for an entire year. So for 2 years, I was faced with this dread of like, oh my God, we just had to lay off 85% of our workforce. Most of them aren't coming back. And now we've got to rebuild all these businesses brick by brick, day by day. Everything that we've done for the last 10 years, we've got to rebuild it, and we've got to rebuild it a lot quicker than 10 years. And so that's been the journey for the last 4 years, is trying to find that resolve to say, okay, we got hit by this punch and we got to get back up. And so we did that. The first year was tough coming out of COVID. The second year was a little bit easier. We decided we were going to continue growing. So in 2021, we signed a lease. That restaurant finally came to fruition, 6 weeks ago in Cedar Park, when we opened that location. And that's the first location we've opened since 2019. So it basically took us 5 years to get back. And COVID cost us basically 3 or 4 years. And so, yeah, those are kind of my 3 spicy moments. I don't want to talk too long because I know I got 20 minutes and I've kind of exhausted those minutes. But yeah, with respect to this theme today and just the creativity aspect of this whole group, for me, it really ties down to your resilience, because I think everyone in here has a vision of what they want their life to be and their dreams. And, my vote has always been to pursue it, to go for it. And the younger you are, the easier it is. So if you're sitting here and you're 27, you're 28, you don't know what the fuck you're doing, or you have this dream and you want to really pursue it, now's the time, because you're not getting any younger. And time moves really fast. I feel like yesterday I was sitting at Star Bar slinging $2 tacos. They'd be like $6 now, but $2 tacos, and now I'm 41 with 2 kids. So yeah.
You did less than 20 minutes.
Oh,
So
wait,
we have
really?
time for questions.
All right.
That's okay, though.
Okay.
Questions other than how to get younger. Mars.
I'm also in food,
Okay.
and the question that sometimes I get asked, and I always like to turn it around too, is if you had the opportunity to do it over again,
I would, but it's not such an easy yes. It's not a normal life. I mean, everyone's probably seen The Bear, it's pretty accurate. When you get into the food industry, like, there are no boundaries. Like, that is your life. Like, you are committed to it. Your weekends are never the same. Your nights are never the same. You are on the clock 24/7, and that's it. Because when people are having fun, when people are hanging out with their kids, if you got an emergency, like, you gotta handle it, And so, as crazy as it sounds, I don't know if I could answer that just yet. I would probably need 5 more years to answer that, to tell you whether it was worth it. But as of now, I would say I would still do it again. Yeah, it's a great question though.
Thank you.
Right here.
The question was, how do you inspire your staff? I try to lead by example, I've always taken the approach, the owner should be the hardest worker, because you're the owner. You can't expect everyone to work harder than you if you're not leading the charge. But we also want to make sure that there's an opportunity for them to have a real career and a real future in the company, and one that they can actually live a normal, prosperous, healthy life. This industry is tough, and a lot of people don't get that opportunity. So we want to be able to give them an opportunity to grow, to be able to save for the future, just like everyone else, But that's what makes the business really tricky, is the margins are razor thin. That's not some, rumor that gets kicked out. That's not true. I mean, that is very true. And so we have to figure that out for our staff. Yeah.
On your whole journey, it's been so.
I'd say probably open the first restaurant, because it was like a 5-year journey to get there, and those food truck days were really tough. Like, yeah, I mean, if you go eat at a food truck, I don't know, tip extra, I guess, because it's a brutal business, and it's so hot in the summer, so you're zapped within like an hour of being in the truck, and there's no easy way out, right? There's no, like, even if you have a pretty good food truck, like maybe you're netting, $100K a year or something, like, okay, well, now you need $1 million to go open a restaurant. So you're going to do this for the next 10 years until, or what's the next kind of, how are you going to get to your goal, right? And so the restaurant was a culmination of many, many years of, hard work and trying to figure it out. Because at one point it just looked like a pipe dream. I'm like, I have no idea how we're going to get $1 million to open a restaurant. It doesn't seem feasible.
Kansas City.
Are there moments where you felt friction between owning a restaurant and having a family? How do you navigate that?
I mean, I still feel that every day. The question was, were there any moments where I felt friction between owning a restaurant or multiple restaurants and having a family? I'm lucky. I have a wife that understands that some nights I'm not getting home until midnight or 1, that I'm going to be very tired on Saturdays. And I'll give you an example. Like, my son's 5th birthday was last Saturday. We were at Dave & Buster's, but my garage door for my catering warehouse malfunctioned and wasn't opening. And, we're trying to figure this out. I have my ear pod in with a service tech trying to get this door open while I'm at my kid's birthday party. I mean, these are just the sacrifices that have to get made to run a business. We got 5 weddings we're catering. Can't leave them hanging. But it's not a normal life. It's not your 9 to 6 kind of life, and your wife has got to be very understanding, and your kids too. My kids are understanding of what I do, and so it works. And you've got to be really good with your time. For me, it's like, there's no wasted time in my days. Like there's no sitting around for an hour just, you know, fucking around on TikTok. You know, I gotta be intentional with every minute of my day to make it work for, you know, my businesses and my family. It's a great question.
All right, maybe one more. All right.
Yeah, just curious if you could share a little bit about your creative process. Is it more team-oriented, or is it just you, or just curious about that, like in the kitchen?
Yeah, in the kitchen, great. So the question was, what are our creative processes in the kitchen? You know, we have a quote unquote theme running through our menu. You know, I was born in Tokyo and lived in Japan for 10 years, and my mom's Chinese, so obviously it's very natural for me to have these Asian influences weaved throughout our menu. We're pretty open to whatever those flavor profiles are that run through our menu, so long as they tie back a little bit to flavors that I'm accustomed to or grew up eating. But right now, it's a constant dialogue between myself and my chefs to try to figure out what makes sense. Not only what kind of food do we want to put out there for Austin, but what are people open to, right? Because we're still running a business. And so sometimes we have to pull it back. Sometimes we've done dishes where people don't understand it. We're maybe a little too ahead of it or too early. But I feel like as time has gone on, this city has really changed, you know, and I feel like we've got a lot more room to be creative now. We can pretty much throw anything out there and somebody's willing to try it. I don't know if I would have said that 14 years ago when I was constantly getting asked what's a banh mi taco, you know? I mean, that was 14 years ago, and now everyone would know.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.